Dealing with high contrast in photography can be a really difficult thing. Trying not to overexpose your highlights or underexpose your shadows. It's something that people will actively avoid, but yet I think when it's done properly, it can produce some fantastic results. So on this glorious sunny day, albeit very challenging lighting conditions, I'm visiting an old ruined North Yorkshire church to share my top tips for high contrast photography. My first two tips are my sort of go-to high contrast photography hacks. The first is to avoid overexposing your highlights, because once they're overexposed, they're gone. There's no detail there. Digital cameras have far much more latitude in the shadows, so if you get them correctly exposed, then you can usually bring life back into the shadows afterwards if needs be. I'll share with you a trick on how to do this later on in the video. Secondly, always consider black and white. I often find high contrast colour photographs quite garish and busy, whereas black and white lends itself to tonal contrast. So in these sorts of situations, it works perfectly. The next thing that's really important to realise is that lighter areas, wherever they fall within our frame, will always stand out and draw the eye more. So in a scene like this, it works quite well because I'm in the light and I'm standing proud of the doorway, which is in shade behind me. Whereas here, where I'm standing in the shade, your eye is bypassing me and going straight to the background. And why wouldn't it? It's far much more interesting. So paying close attention to where light falls within our high contrast scenes can not only help us to lead the viewer's eye to exactly what we want them to look at, it can also help us to compose and layer our photographs with light and shade, making the photographs much more dynamic and much more interesting to look at. Another thing that I'll look for, especially in a location like this, is what I like to call shadow shapes. These are lines and shapes formed by shadow that lead our eye and potentially frame the scene. In a composition like this, I would probably go with a square crop because we don't want the shadow to take over, we still want the light to be dominant. But adding that extra layer of shadow and the shape that it forms not only gives context of where I'm filming today, it also adds interest to the scene. I'm sorry, I'm just getting in the way again. As well as shadow shapes providing us with frames and leads, they can also act as subjects in themselves. Take this scene here, for example, where now this wall of light is providing the frame, and the shadow and these railings in the doorway in the middle here are presenting us with a subject, and it completely changes the mood of a picture. Once you start looking for shadow shapes, you'll see them everywhere. Even something as simple as this diagonal line coming down the wall can be a really strong lead to a subject and provide balance to the frame. It also pays to look out for different angles. Rather than just going for conventional record shots of a location, see if you can find different shadow shapes to emphasize different aspects of the scene. I think it's also really important to stress that we shouldn't necessarily shy away from what's known as low dynamic range. Dynamic range is the difference between your darkest shadow and your brightest highlight. So if a photograph is high dynamic range, it means that these are quite close together, meaning that we've got detail from our darkest shadow right through to our brightest highlight. But low dynamic range is the opposite of that. And we might lose detail within the textures of our picture, but in doing that, we might gain impact through those shadow shapes or silhouettes. Although, contrary to common belief, it's not completely sacrilegious to overexpose your highlights, especially if you're going for that extreme low dynamic range look. But as I said in my first tip, keeping those highlights perfectly exposed gives us a lot more leeway with what we can do with our photographs, and arguably presents us with more interesting, more naturalistic pictures. So let's say I was wanting to take a photograph of this high contrast scene of the church tower, framed by the shadow shapes of the trees and also this beautiful diagonal shadow line coming across the tower. Ideally, I want my highlights to be perfectly exposed. I want my shadows to appear dark, but I also want a little bit of detail in them as well, so I can show off the nice textures. I'm going to use full manual mode because I want complete control over my exposure. The first two settings that I'm going to set are ISO and aperture. ISO I'm going to leave at 100, which is the lowest on my camera because I don't want any of that unwanted noise creeping into the shadow areas. And for aperture, I'm going to set it at f8, giving me a decent depth of field and enough light coming in through the camera's lens to expose the photograph properly. I'm going to use my shutter speed as my variable to control the exposure. So I'm not overexposing my highlights and I'm not completely underexposing my shadows. I'm going to use it in conjunction with my spotlight meter built into the camera to find the exact mid-tone of the scene. Taking a spotlight meter reading from the brightest part of the scene, which I think is probably some of the white lichen on the church tower, it's giving me a shutter speed value of 800th of a second. And then if I take the same reading from the darkest part of the scene, which is probably the shadows underneath the tower here, it's giving me a value of a 40th of a second. Now, in order to turn that into the perfect exposure, we need to find the midpoint between those two values. And we need to make sure that we do that in stops. Stops being a value of light in photography. So between 40th and 800th of a second, there are effectively 5 stops. And the middle stop within that range is 200th of a second. So that is the exposure that I'm going to use. So when it comes to high contrast photography, always consider black and white to give your photographs that extra bit of punch. Look for how the light interacts with your location, as lighter parts of our scene will always stand out more than darker ones. Look out for interesting shadow shapes that can create layers, lead the eye, provide context, or even make a subject themselves. And try to avoid overexposing your highlights, but at the same time, don't be afraid of low dynamic range and crunching the darkest shadow and the brightest highlight to create more dramatic impact. I'm sure many photographers would have shied away from even coming out with their camera in conditions like this. But not only have I really enjoyed my visit to this ruined church today, I feel like the high contrast light conditions have added to it, helping me to produce dramatic and hopefully interesting photos. Hopefully this has also encouraged you to head out with your camera in high contrast conditions. If you've enjoyed the video and got something from it, then please give it a like. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. And if you'd like to see a master at work when it comes to high contrast photography to take your learning further, make sure that you check out this video next. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, it's bye from me for now. See you soon.